There's a lot on my mind, and I'm looking for me a woman, but she's mighty hard to find. Lord, it's my country cousin, check the hottest spots in town. Oh, that little bitty woman, but
you're not worth the flesh you're printed on. Fuck this cowboy shit. You fucking old dunk, podunk, well then there, motherfuckers! All you had to do was give me the goddamn key! And we could get on with our lives. All right, this property is hereby condemned.
We have moved so far from our natural intelligence, moved so far into the labyrinths of ignorance, and have become so comfortable in a world of wall-to-wall lies and fakery that our living, intelligent planet is forced to do something about it. Though we have become accustomed to it, we are somatically, psychically, and socially so polluted that our souls can rarely glimpse the heavens, so to speak. We have so repressed and incarcerated our own true voices and blinded our soul senses that we're doomed to having the fates conspire to augur in cataclysmic external and internal events in order to undermine the rotten edifice we stand worshipping and bring it crashing down around us.
Nobody can be hypnotized who doesn't want to be hypnotized. Not for a permanent amount of time. Now, we are incredibly hypnotizable. How can we be hypnotized? Not that we are hypnotized or even how we're hypnotized. That a human being's mind can be hypnotized opens a whole can of worms. How can I be hypnotized? What do I not know about my own mind that I'm not even in control of it? So that opens the whole door to say, well, you can be me. And that's when you become suspicious. Like I said, these religious types never do, because they're hypnotized. They're in the trance. Those who've been under mind control, says Vernon Howard, always believe they're the exception to the rule. Yeah, because they're the ones under it. So they have no way of testing. The shaman class know it too, otherwise they wouldn't have the endless underworld. Now, once you've understood the formula, it doesn't work anymore. Right? I mean, it just doesn't work. It just completely is useless. But then you have the problem walking around other people who can't get it. People are in a state of hypnosis, but they're also in a state of auto-hypnosis.
How do I know you ain't gonna kill me?
You have my word. I mean, frankly, we've been counting on you, haven't we? The world needs more people like you, Mr. Roach.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Of course, you don't mind if we kill the others, do you?
Hey, if it makes you feel good, do it.
Makes you feel good, do it. Exactly. First things first, of course. The blood suit.
Listen, personal note, be sure and kill Breaker. He's a bossy asshole.
Isn't he, though?
Thank you. That's it?
That's it.
No, you ain't such a bad fella.
You aren't so bad yourself. Oh, pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Roach.
Well, you know this hell on earth business? Big fucking deal. I got hemorrhoids. Vaya con Dios.
And a vaya con diablos to you too, sir. Oh, Roach, there's just one more thing I forgot to mention. I lied.
Once you're already self-sadistic and necrophilious to that level where now you're tenderized for them, they've got a bevy of different ways now to continue the process so that you're basically not an emotional being at all, right? They're going to put that concrete wall in that R.D. Laing talks about, install it into your psyche so you never even have to feel. You don't even feel what it is to be human anymore.
The fact is that you are here on this planet as a guest. Your purpose is to leave the planet in a better condition than when you found it. Now, those who do not understand this purpose are condemned to act in a manner which achieves the opposite result. However, no welcome guest destroys his host's property or leaves things in a mess. None of us would tolerate this kind of behavior from anyone in our lives. So please understand that we are not going to be permitted to be delinquent guests much longer by our living host, the Earth. As this photonic light gradually intensifies, most people's consciousnesses are going to rebel, as we all do when a bright light is shined in our face. We turn away and cover our eyes. We may even strike out at those holding the light towards us.
Born out of people who are deeply in need of self-hypnosis. Now, when self-hypnosis is sold to you, say in the East, this has been done for thousands of years, they're not going to tell you, hey, by the way, this is called self-hypnosis. Just go home and install it. Take this with a cup of, half a glass of hot water.
I did it, Jack. I did it. And you know what? It got me hot. No, I'm not kidding. You should have seen the look on Carl's face when I buried that axe in his chest. Oh, killing him was almost better than sex. I said almost, didn't I? Oh, we're gonna have so much fun spending all his money, aren't we, baby? Ooh, just thinking about it gets me all hot and squishy. You mean right now? He's in the basement cooling off.
They're not going to tell you that you're being hypnotized. It's done over time. So the person who's in it will go, I've been in the Eastern mysticism for years. I'm not self-hypnotized. Well, dickhead, if you were self-hypnotized, doesn't your own logic circuit tell you wouldn't be able to know? And then wouldn't you then, instead of coming to me with a simple rebuttal, wouldn't you then say, Michael, how would I prove that I am self-hypnotized? I go, good, now we've got something going different. Now we can talk.
This is a consensus trance. Everybody knows that the media is full of fucking shit. Why the fuck are people buying it? And see, it goes much deeper than just what is happening with the media. This is one of the biggest spellcasts that has ever happened in history. It's not just one nation. It's just not one group of people. It's the entire fucking world. So in light of what I'm talking about here, this is why the Earth Mother herself has been inflamed. And so the warfare factor, here in turn, women have always been the main targets. The womb. And the women that know the difference need to destroy these fuckers. They fear the divine feminine force more than anything else.
And so the deeper you go down into the trauma, into the wells of it, just like they show in Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, when you go deep, deep, deep into the dragon's lair, that's where the real mirrors of the self exist. You got to go back into the self. Go back to the foundations and the roots. So he climbs down and he goes into the underworld like the hanged man.
What is your name?
Alice, son of Hammond. The men are saying that we will not live out the night. They say that it is hopeless.
This is a good sword. Harry, son of Hammer.
There's always hope.
But then it's so frightening and so dark, and he doesn't have a torch. His mind has never acculturated himself to that dark. Like we're saying, if we tried to go back and dig up the pain from within, we wouldn't even know how to begin doing it. But until you dig down and you find that light, because that light is within. So, the devil is the impediment. The tower struck with lightning is a possible meltdown situation that, there are troubles along the way. But then there's also the great empowerment that comes when the false self fades away. And you're able to dig down into the self. That's what real shamanism is all about. But the thing that is the key thing is that in going deep into the self, you're also going deep into what nature is. Because nature preceded you, right? When the original contraction, atomic contraction, took place in the spirit world, it left a space, a vacuum. From that vacuum, since the spirit had still infused it, spirit is pulling out of it, but it's still infused with spirit of a kind. That's how nature was born. So there's no way for a person to dig down into themselves without doing it in the theater of nature. And that then means, in practical terms, getting the hell out of the city. Because the city is such an artificial scape. And it's part of this whole, construct of horizon. The very forces I've been talking about all the way through the show, the series, that incarcerate you psychically. Not just physically, but psychically. So that your feet never walk on uneven.
We think of militaristic terms, or we have to start to learn to think of those terms in mental and spiritual and psychic terms. There's a colonization of the mind, and it's vital for us to be vigilant and aware of that all the time. And there's many tentacles of that kind of colonization. There's many tentacles of this war on consciousness. There's the groupthink and the consensus trance, which is again born out of fear. Or we have a complete and utter disinterest in anything that's not the most narcissistic and practical areas of life. And we have, especially amongst the young and amongst the teenagers, the vegged out, the boredom. We also have overstimulated minds. We're in a world of outer-directed personality types, as opposed to inner-directed. Do we know what the difference is between an inner-directed person, a person who's got selfhood and psychic sovereignty, or psychic immunity, or a perpetually outer-directed person who's waiting for the world to turn them on, who's waiting for the world to give them meaning? It says the destructiveness of mankind appears to include a large amount of self-destructiveness, in paradoxical contradiction to the axiom that self-preservation is the first law of life. It is not always easy to recognize in what situations and to what extent we are being cut off from our feelings, but such a phenomenon constitutes murder. He says the majority of well-adapted individuals have lost their own self at an early age and replaced it completely by a social self offered to them by society.
It's not a flag, it's a company, a high-flying company, and it'll cheerfully work you to death. By the time you are old, pension is sold, and your cube will be your casket. It's a company, a high-flying company. Now please get back to work.
We'll get back to you.
Lay this down.
and the greatest difference throughout the years to come for Weininger was to be the practical fates of men and women. From 1903 until the end of the 20th century, what has been the fate of women in contradistinction to men? For the most part, has it not been the difference between recreation and carnage, satiation and toil, frivolity and perplexity, entitlement and servility, excess and enslavement? It is a demonstrable fact that modern women in the West have the boon of living in a domestic bubble, with all their basic needs provided for. They are therefore able and willing to play and to have fun from their earliest years to late in life. For most Western females, life is a breeze, and city life is an incubated cocoon free from physical and emotional hardship. Yes, for most Western women, the city and the world lie at their feet. But the cushions, fashion accessories, and glasses of champagne have been delivered at great cost. Sadly, according to Weininger, that cost does not interest most women. As long as the meat is on the table and the lights continue to burn, all is well. One need not inquire further into the sacrifices and measure of toil expended to produce it. Nor need one be concerned about the consequences of idleness, affluence, and unearned entitlement. Importantly, how do most Western mothers describe men to their impressionable daughters? Are young girls taught to admire men or to envy, despise, and exploit them? Do women today willingly work alongside men as equals, or attempt to outgun and humiliate them? Crucially, what do men really know about the psychology of women? How would we rate their insights? Is it high or low on the scale? What do men know about women of the past? Do they blithely ascribe all crime, violence, cruelty, and injustice perpetrated through the millennia to their own sex? And is it correct to do so? And what of the future, near and far? If envy, contempt, and competitiveness are to be the order of the day, endorsed by an irrational, feminized society, what will happen to the civilization built by men? What will come of all the sweat, tears, losses, and spilled blood? What if tomorrow's young men, non-consciously, change themselves into docile bodies, directed in every way by amoral women in their circles? Seeing that women in the West feel entitled to luxuries they have not earned, and seeing that most women around them live in a pink bubble of comfort and plenty, might not young men be inclined to feminize and infantilize themselves to experience the same idle lifestyle? Evil has been with us for a long time. From the beginning of history, evil has been in the world. It's also been defined in many ways. If we were to interview 50 people, we couldn't guarantee that any two of them would explain it in the same way. And so, from the outset of this program, I'd like to offer you my personal definition of evil. I've said it before and I'll say it now again, that in my opinion, evil should be equated with the act of self-murder. It's the condition of being psychologically dead. That's a bizarre statement, to be sure. And of course, this process of self-murder doesn't occur overnight. It's a gradual process with many stages and sub-stages. But in our particular age, we need to be understanding something about the anatomy of evil if we're ever to see the back of evil, ever to be rid of it once and for all. And in professional circles, we notice that experts are loath to even use the term evil. We hear them speak of brain disease, mental derangement, antisocial behavior, and even insanity. But we might question that these institutions that ostensibly are there to cure these disorders also profit from them, profit from their existence. Some argue that they manufacture disease, and the low levels of success that they have with treating depression and suicide is, in my opinion, based on their fundamental misconceptions about pathology. We hear a lot about disorders, but when do we ever hear about energy or bioenergy or chi or prana or life force? And we live in a sea of other people, a plasma of human beings. And we go around assuming that our energy is similar to other people. Well, we irrationally go around thinking that just because somebody's nice, they must have a conscience. Well, when it comes to vampires, they may be nice, but they have no conscience and don't care about your welfare at all. They are the chameleons, the human predators, the parasites, if you will, and they're very hard to detect. All manner of experts and psychiatrists have been duped by their facade. The information we present here will be a great help to you should you suffer at their hands. But even if you never encounter a full-blown vampiristic type, you may find yourself at some point in the company of neurotics, narcissists, and sociopaths. Again, this information that we provide now will be great help. Now, this research takes us to the heart of human psychology, to the heart of who we are. Ultimately, it's about how to stay sane in an unsane world. And with that said, let's step now into the world and the mind of the psychic vampire.
It's hard at a time like this to find the words to offer you any comfort.
There is no comfort. There is only private justice.
The Bible tells us not to fear the terror that creepeth by night, or that which flieth by noonday. And yet we do. We do. Because there's so much we don't know, and we feel very small.
Reverend, he was torn apart!
My nephew, has just discovered the Lone Ranger. And I wondered if you could help me here.
You want a silver bullet, huh? Huh?
The man Uncle Red had gone to see was more than a gunsmith. He was, Uncle Red said, an old-world craftsman, a sort of wizard of weapons. He confirmed the high-grade silver content of my crucifix and Marty's medallion, melted them down, and molded them into a silver bullet. Marty had read all the legends about werewolves. And though they differed on several minor points, they all agreed on one. It takes silver to kill a werewolf. And we were taking no chances.
There it is. Nicest piece of work I ever done, I think.
And we have these emotionally self-murdered people in their millions walking around. In fact, if we really showed the statistics, we'd probably be horrified at just how many people, you see, are not living in a truly, they're not alive in a moral or spiritual sense. They just have the mask, they just have the persona. And then these individuals are very adept at living off the energies and light of other people. So, you know, that's why the term vampirism has been used. It's quite an accurate term, actually. In many
continue
ways.
this emergency broadcast as long as we can hold out here. The city is almost completely deserted now. There are only a few stragglers left on the streets. No emergency services. The fires continue to burn out of control. This incredible epidemic of random mass killing has spread to every country in the civilized world. Every hour, more people are becoming infected, being driven to senseless acts of extreme violence. Now, we have gotten reports, sketchy at best, of people mutating, their bodies swelling and distorting, changing somehow. Locally, the mass killings appear to have moved inland. All the major cities on the East Coast are silent. We lost contact with Los Angeles and the West Coast last night, so it's impossible at this time to know how many unaffected people are left. If for any reason you are one of us who hasn't become infected, take shelter immediately. Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
Sorry about the bulge. It was a lucky shot, that's all. What? Insane. You hear me? I'm not insane!
You're still here. Busy night.
Special effects. Hidden speakers, you people are professionals, I'll give you that.
The thing I can't remember is what came first. Us or the book.
We are not living in a Sutter Kane story. This is not reality.
Reality is not what it used to be.
Oh, Jesus, this place makes my head hurt.
Oh, really? Come on. Look at this. This was done by a 5-year-old, my 5-year-old, Johnny's sister. She did me after she did her mom. You're alone. I have to. He wrote me this way.
This is not the ending. You haven't read it yet.
Well, Mr. Saperstein, I promise you that's what I'm here to find out.
Things must be getting pretty bad out there to bring you fellas in.
Hey, Rorschach. Hey, you're pretty famous, right? Hey, you know what? I'm pretty famous, too. Ain't that right? That's right. That's right. You know, maybe I can give you an autograph, huh? What you say, big boy?
My baby beside me at the
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
That's it! You're locked in here with me!
riding along in my automobile. I'm not inside. I ventured to tell her the way. So I told her softly and sincere. And she leaned and whispered.
This is not a Sutter Kane story. This is not reality. Not reality. Not reality.
This is reality. With no particular place to go.